In recent days, the phrase Epstein Files has once again taken over headlines and social media feeds, reigniting public attention on one of the most disturbing and controversial cases of the modern era. The renewed focus comes from the release of additional court documents connected to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, documents that had previously been sealed and unavailable to the public. To understand why the Epstein Files matter, it's important to understand who Jeffrey Epstein was and how his story unfolded. Epstein was a wealthy financier who cultivated relationships with powerful figures across politics, business, academia, and entertainment. For years, he lived a life of extraordinary privilege, operating private jets, luxury homes, and exclusive social circles. Behind that image, however, was a long-running pattern of sexual abuse and exploitation of underage girls. In 2008, Epstein struck a plea deal that shocked many observers. Despite serious allegations, he avoided federal charges and served a short jail sentence with unusually lenient conditions. This agreement allowed him to continue living much of his life outside prison and shielded potential co-conspirators from prosecution. For many, this deal became a symbol of how money and influence can bend the justice system. More than a decade later, in 2019, Epstein was arrested again on federal sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors accused him of running an organized operation that abused minors over many years. This time, the case appeared far more serious, and the public scrutiny was intense. However, before the case could go to trial, Epstein died in jail. His death was officially ruled a suicide, but left countless questions unanswered and permanently ended the possibility of criminal accountability for him. What did not end was the search for truth. Survivors continued to pursue justice through civil lawsuits, targeting Epstein's estate and individuals accused of enabling or facilitating his abuse. As part of these cases, enormous volumes of evidence were collected, including emails, witness testimony, flight records, financial documents, and internal communications. Much of this material became known collectively as the Epstein Files. For years, many of these Epstein Files remained sealed by court order. Judges often cited the need to protect victims' identities, prevent harassment, or avoid prejudicing ongoing legal matters. While those protections were necessary, they also meant that the public had only a partial understanding of how Epstein operated and who was connected to him. The recent release of additional Epstein Files marks a significant moment in this ongoing process. These documents provide deeper insight into Epstein's network, his methods, and the systems that failed to stop him. They include references to high-profile individuals, institutions, and organizations that intersected with his life. However, it is crucial to understand that being named in these files does not automatically mean someone committed a crime. Legal documents often mention people as witnesses, contacts, or third parties without any accusation of wrongdoing. This distinction is especially important in an age of viral speculation. As soon as the Epstein Files are released, names circulate online, often stripped of context. This can lead to misinformation, false accusations, and harm to individuals who may have had no involvement in Epstein's crimes. Responsible analysis requires reading carefully, understanding legal language, and separating evidence from rumor. For survivors, the unsealing of these files carries deep emotional weight. Many spent years being ignored, silenced, or disbelieved. Transparency is not about revenge. It is about accountability. Secrecy allowed Epstein's abuse to continue for decades. Public access to records helps expose how warnings were missed, how complaints were dismissed, and how powerful systems fail to protect vulnerable people. The Epstein Files also highlight broader issues that go far beyond one individual. They raise questions about how wealth can insulate people from consequences, how institutions respond to allegations against influential figures, and how victims are treated when they challenge powerful interests. These are not abstract concerns. They shape real-world outcomes for real people. Another key takeaway from the Epstein Files is how incomplete justice can be. Epstein himself will never stand trial. That reality makes the documentation even more important. Court records, testimony, and evidence become the closest thing to an official historical record. They help ensure that what happened cannot be erased or rewritten. At the same time, the release of documents is not the final chapter. Many cases connected to Epstein are still unfolding. Investigations continue, and legal accountability remains uneven. The Epstein files do not provide simple answers, but they do provide clarity about how complex and systemic the failures were. Ultimately, the renewed attention on the Epstein files is not just about revisiting a scandal. It is about confronting uncomfortable truths. It is about recognizing how power operates behind closed doors and how difficult it can be for victims to be heard. It is also about the importance of transparency, careful reporting, and critical thinking in a world where information spreads instantly. As more documents become public and more analysis emerges, the challenge of the public is to stay grounded in facts, resist sensationalism, and keep the focus where it belongs, on accountability, justice, and ensuring that abuses like these are never allowed to thrive in silence again.